That's perhaps you probably knew them personally. They knew they weren't destined for mediocre and the mundane. They grew up with no perceived advantages or the proverbial silver spoon. Said it another way, without affluence. College degrees rose up as an initial ambition, but soon dissipated, only to spawn the urge to be a future entrepreneur. What businesses would best suit them? They pondered. As they needed something to start on a shoestring budget. It means something that could be scalable. But what could it be? What could do something like that? What could place them in a position of a better life, a better direction? Then one day they stumbled upon a man who demonstrated the ability to predict market moves, seemingly able to travel time and space and return back with insights about the near future. They watched in amazement and they figured there has to be something to this. There has to be some trickery. There has to be some kind of a gimmick. The day after day, week after week, this man would share this openly, asking nothing in return. So they set out to slowly consume everything this man put out. Day and night, they labored feverishly, looking for that epiphany, that aha moment that they could do it themselves. Soon their family noticed, their friends, their coworkers, and like much anything else in the world, curiosity got the better of them. And out of morbid curiosity, they asked, "What is it you're doing all the time? Why don't we ever see you anymore at the club? Why don't we ever see you at our normal powwow where we get together and hang out? You weren't at the bonfire this weekend. What were you doing? Where have you been?" They would ask. Well, with excitement, obviously, they began to show, this is what I've been doing. This is what's referred to as the art of reading price action. Excitedly, they showed chart after chart. This is what this looks like. This is what that market did. And I saw these things happening before it happened. And this is the craft that's called trading, where an investor can take money, their own money, and buy and sell and profit from these fluctuations that is inside these charts. Isn't that amazing? They wanted to share that excitement, that pent up joy, because they've been laboring all by themselves. In the quiet, in the stillness of the night, when everybody else was sleeping, preparing for another workday, or preparing for a busy weekend, they were staring at charts. They were looking at fluctuations and patterns and trying to adopt a mindset of pattern recognition, seeking a model that they could employ day after day. This is what they're going to do. But strangely, as they spoke and shared their excitement, their audience began to withdraw. Strange looks of bewilderment passed over them, an odd glaze in their eye. They didn't understand one thing they were being told. They couldn't get it. Why would you be so excited about this? This is what you chose after being with us for so long, clubbing, all the high school years we spent partying, all the football games and rallies we would go, tailgating, cookouts with liquor, booze, and barely clad women. This is what you've been doing with your time? Wow. What happened to you? They thought. And here they are, sitting there, wondering, have they been wasting their time? All this time, have they been wasting it? What did they miss? What have they missed? Putting this much labor into doing this. Surely they have been doing something much greater than their labor has. There must be something that they have missed. And they started doubting the months and the weeks, maybe a year or so. They've invested in doing these and they trimmed off all this extracurricular activities, the unhealthy practices, the substance abuse, the running around and wasting money just for a romp in the sack. Have they made a mistake? Have they wasted and squandered their time and energy on a pipe dream? If it was that easy, everyone would be doing it, they said. What have you done with it so far? How much money have you made with it so far? And they slinked back, and the weight of those questions rested on them. The weight of not having the receipts yet pressed on them. And they looked around, looking for words to speak, and words escaped them. And their audience told them, see, you've been wasting your time. Perhaps you know this person. Perhaps you've met them before. Perhaps you've seen them today in the mirror, online, or just maybe you're that person. I wanted to talk to you about a couple things to encourage you before we go into the holiday season because this is my last space for 2025. And I want to remind you that all of you that had set in motion this pursuit on how you're going to learn how to use the things I teach, develop a model, work towards consistency, work towards profitability, and eventually carve out whatever future you have established for yourself as a goal. In the beginning, it's really important for you not to share those ideas with anyone because the world is drunk on its lies. Maybe some of you are still struggling with that. You're trying to sober up, come out of the world, come out of the ways of thinking about, I got to get a mortgage and wrestle with that for the rest of my life in my job. I got to finish university and get my degree. And maybe I don't know if I want to do that career for the rest of my life. What would my parents think? What would my spouse think? What would I think about myself? What if I wasted my time, my money, my effort doing all those things? That's what the world wrestles with daily. But something about you specifically, is different. Yes, you're aware that everybody has to have utility bills, no matter how much money you have. Everyone has those. You always have insurances. You always have cost of living. But you know enough about yourself that this time on this spinning rock that we get isn't promised of any specific length in time. So you have to make the best of it while you can. And what you get in terms of rewards, success, is what you have placed in it in terms of effort and pursuit. And the majority of everyone in this world, they want it for free. They want a lottery win, something they didn't have to work for, but they deserve it. And you know enough about the world and yourself, you know that you have to go out there and get it. You can't wait for your ship to come in to pick you up. You got to swim out to it. Your pursuit of bettering yourself, bettering your family tree, building a legacy of wealth. You chose to do that. No one before you. You. You're the captain at the helm. You're the CEO. Everything's resting on your shoulders. And you made the conscious decision to work towards doing this. It was probably the easiest sell in the world the first time you saw it being done. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to do what she just did. I want to do what he just did. I want to do what they're all doing. They're all speaking a language that I don't know, but I want to be a part of the conversation. I want to be among them because where I'm at right now in the world, it is lonesome. I have all these friends. I have all these coworkers. I have all these football games that I can pal around with, tailgating. But after the game, I'm right back in that same place, wanting more. It's a distraction. I want substance. I want better. And that's not wrong to feel that way. But your friends live under a different set of rules. Your coworkers live under a different set of rules. Your employers definitely live under a different set of rules. And family, well, they're a different dynamic altogether because you love them and you expect them to love you for what you're trying to do for yourself. You want them to encourage you, but surprisingly, when you share these things with them, you tell them, this is what I'm working hard for. Oh, is that college? Well, no, not really. Wow. That sounds like a waste. And as soon as you talk about what you could potentially make, and they ask you what you have made thus far, and you have nothing to show them, those are the questions you don't want to be asked when you're first learning. Because you have done the due diligence of placing those wants, those expectations ahead. You've placed them in the future. You are deferring instant gratification, a concept that the majority of people in the working class can't grasp. That's why credit card debt is so high, and bankruptcies are so high, and foreclosures are so high. Sure, they may have a fast car, looks great on the driveway, but you're losing your house. Sure, you had the best kicks on your feet right now. You're dressed to the nines, but you don't have any food in your pantry or your refrigerator. The grocery list is short. Half empty mayonnaise, a couple squirts left in the ketchup, no milk in the jug. So when you tell the world while you're striving for it, while you're working for it, and you haven't obtained it yet, don't lose sight that the world has not adopted the mindset that you have before you began. You knew it wouldn't be right away as much as you want it to be, but you pressed that down deep. You pressed it down, you swallowed that. You said, I will defer that want. Let me see what I can do. Let me find myself in this. And you want your family, above all, you want your family to turn to you and say, wow, this is incredible. This is actually exciting. I'm excited for you. When you do well, can you show me how you did it? That's what you want to hear. That's what you want to experience because it's hard to muster up the will, the power to get into this and stick with it because it's dry. It's very, very boring stuff in the beginning and it's fruitless for a long time, much like a college degree. But many in this world are willing to do all kinds of things academically, through sports, and through parents paying a large portion of those college tuitions with no hope, no guarantee that a high paying job in that field is waiting for you. But many students press themselves into that mold and they dig down deep. I better do it. I better do it. I better do it. Stick to it. It's hard, but it's worth it. It's hard, but that job's not guaranteed. Your happiness doing that job is not guaranteed. But something about this, something in these charts resonated with you. Something spoke to you and said, this is for me. Far beyond just seeing someone make money with it. Something in this spoke in a deeper level. It tapped into something that you probably never realized about yourself, that you wanted more, more than those that love you, that you love, that have been friends with you for a majority of your life. Your coworkers that you've been placing the time clock as a mutual chain tethering you to the boss. You've known them for years. You wanted them to look at you and say, wow, that's incredible. Like, can you tell me more about that? But they're drunk. And because they're drunk, they're lost. They're stumbling through life. They don't know what they're doing from one minute to the next. And they're numbing themselves to the pain of just existing in a mundane existence, 9 to 5ing it, Monday through Friday. So it's not a surprise, or it shouldn't be a surprise to you when they lean in and they tell you with their whiskey whispers, you're going to lose. You're wasting your time. Don't let that affect you. Don't let it bother you. Remember, you're the one that's sober. You're the one that sees it as it really is. You knew this was going to be hard when you first started. You knew you were going to have to work for it. You didn't ask your family's permission to do this. You didn't ask your friends' support before you started. And you're not asking for your coworkers to encourage you to stay working there when you can afford not to be. Setting your mind to a task like this takes a great deal of willpower and focus and discipline. And you're going to have to love your friends and family from a distance. And don't always feel like you have to let them know what you're doing. There's nothing wrong about that because you're presently under construction. You're at work right now in the laboratory building this financial monster that's inside you. It is yet to be released because it's still incubating. And no one else is going to understand it like you. No one's going to appreciate the sheer power that it feels like when you have it in your hands, that you're wielding the foresight of knowing what price is going to do, and then it does it. And you know, by doing that over and over again, repetitively, you're acquiring a skill set that far, far too little in this population has the capacity to be able to do. But you've tasted it. You've felt it. You've seen what it feels like to wield that. And no one can convince you otherwise that this is for you. But don't let love and fellowship distort your focus. You have not arrived yet. You're still working in that direction, but allowing other people in and whispering doubts into you, whispering questions of whether or not this is really something that's going to work for you. You have to prevent those opportunities while you're focusing. These people whom you love, or maybe you are friends with them online. You don't know them. You never met them really, but they have a following and you want to be a part of their community. And maybe they found out because you've been open with them and honest, saying, yeah, I'm trying to learn these smart money concepts. I'm trying to do this ICT thing. What? That fraud? You're wasting your time listening to that guy? You're never going to get what you want on social media, sharing your own business, except for regret. Just this year alone in 2025, I want you to think about. I want you to think about what a few of your peers in this community, what they've accomplished. And all of you know, I don't hold any hands. I don't say buy here, sell here, place a stop here, move your stop here. I don't do that. But all of you have access to the same material, the same content. And there's a large population of winning, consistently profitable traders that are students of mine that have no interest in coming forward on social media, least of all on X. They have no aspiring desire to do a mentorship of their own. They're not starting up Discords. They're not starting up signal services. They're living their life now happily without their job, and they're doing quite well. And some of them are multimillionaires, and they've acquired that just in the last few years. The things that I've been teaching, they focused in on it. They cut out all the fat and said, okay, I'm going to get very focused about where I'm taking myself, and I'm going to limit the time and exposure to things that I know aren't going to build me up. I'm not going to waste time with all that stuff on the weekend, putting that stuff inside me, because I have things to focus on and I have to be clear headed. I have to be sober minded. Look what Kyle was able to do. Look what Kane was able to do. Candace, Sean, the list is growing. It's not just the boys anymore, is it? This is in your grasp, but you have to filter out all of the noise. Nobody here is a hero. Nobody here is worshipped. No one's looked up to as better or superior. That's the wrong mindset. You're not here to do that, to go out there and start clubbing people over the head. You stupid so-and-so, look what you're trading with. I know it seems like that when I'm talking about other schools of thought, but it's because I'm questioned about my opinion. Do I think that it's equal or it's on par with what I'm teaching? And there's nothing like that. There's nothing like what you're learning. It's so precise. It's so consistent. It's so reliable. But you have to get in line with it. You have to dial in to what it's showing you. And you have to find your place with your own personality. how you're going to equip yourself to get in sync with what the market's doing and knowing that this is enough. When it does this, I look for that and it's doing it at the right time. So I'm going to take action and I'm only going to risk this much. And hopefully you're learning not to risk what you have on things that you don't need, which is a right now trade because you're bored, a right now win so I can show my family because they asked me to show them what I'm able to do with it right now. They haven't seen me for months. They don't see me on the weekends anymore. They don't see me on the evenings at the bar. I might lose them as a friend. And guess what? That actually might be a beneficial thing. I'll say it a different way. I was afraid I was going to lose my friends who really weren't my friends when I was growing in success, making more money, and eventually leaving the workforce. It was lonely being like that. All my friends were still working. I didn't have to worry about going to bed at a certain time. I didn't have to worry about having a sleep schedule. I didn't have to worry about being somewhere at any given time. And I was lonely because of that. And I went back like a dog to its vomit, back to these same people, expecting them to make me feel like I'm worthy of being a friend. And all I was a very fat wallet. And I made sure they had a great time on my dime. But eventually I woke up and realized that these people were here sponging off of me. I was the one contributing to them. They were doing nothing but sucking off the things that I was sharing: money, my time, my resources. So you have to be careful. You have to guard yourself. Many of you probably have questionable friendships and relationships that would probably be beneficial for you to end. They keep dragging you back to a lifestyle, a vice, something that's holding you back. And I want to remind you that living well is hard to get there. Once you're there and you identify living well, what is living well? You're not worrying about the inflationary rate that's going up. You're not worried about how many people is going to lose their job because you don't need a job. You can help other people. You're so blessed. You know somebody that's in your family or a real friend, and maybe they're down and out. This skill set will allow you to help them, and you won't even think about doing it. It'll just be like, what do you need? But you don't need to tell them, yeah, I made $25,000 this week trading NASDAQ. But that's what it feels like you have to do. You feel like you have to do those things for people to recognize your significance, your worth, your value as a person. And that's not true. That's you still sipping on the whiskey of the world because you think that's the language you need to speak in, and it's not. Eventually, over time, your friends and family and coworkers and people on social media that you pal around with, when you start getting good at this, they're going to withdraw from you because you're showing visible change. You're no longer, well, like one of them anymore. And they see it, they feel it. And now they're going to feel this separation from the norm. And they don't want to step out of that because they don't have the skill set to make changes and grow with you like you are, finding success like you are, a direction in life that they don't have. You can't just sit down with these individuals and say, I know I'm going to be successful. I don't know how to explain it. I just know I'm going to keep working at it and I know it's going to be mine. I've seen enough evidence to know that all I have to do is keep working towards it. It's not a fraud. It's not contrived. It's not fake. I've seen receipts not only in my own hands, but in others, and they're making real money. It's reasonable. It's reasonable to feel like you want to share your progress, your aspirations, your desires, your direction in life. It's normal because we're human. We're social creatures. That's what the creators made us like. We strive in pursuing those types of interactions with other people. But in trading, you have to be an island unto yourself. You have to be a solitary creature. You have to know that you're okay all by yourself with your model, your approach to trading, and you're limiting outside influences. That's why I tell you, once you figure out what it is that you're doing and you're consistent with it, tune me out. The worst thing you can do is start tinkering with something that works in your hands. Unfollow me. Don't watch my videos. Don't talk about me on the internet. Don't go and try to see what everybody else is talking about. Who cares? What I'm saying to you right here isn't going to make you any more money. It's not going to put more trades in front of you. It's just simply encouraging you to stay on course. That's it. I've already taught you how to trade. I've already taught you how to find making money in these markets. All kinds of different ways of doing it. You've already been taught how to do that. But what you have to learn is who you are in the process. You have to determine where you're going with all this. And unfortunately, most people come here and they want a flash in the pan success story. Give me something direct, short, obvious, 1, 2, 3, ABC, and it's going to work every day. And I don't have to risk a whole lot of money. And by the way, buy me a prop firm account so I won't have to invest in anything either. Does that sound realistic? But that's what people email me for all the time. They ask me directly on X. If I did that to everyone that ever asked me, I would be broke. And I have a lot of money. Just think about that now. So you don't have any obligation at all. It doesn't make you poor in spirit as a person for you to deny other people knowing what you're doing. You don't owe anybody an explanation where you're at, what you're doing, what you're spending your time on. You don't have to do those things. And if you lose them as a friend, were they really your friend? Your family is going to love you no matter what. But your family, unfortunately, most of the time, not always, there's a few small instances where there is a supportive member in your family that would love to see you do well. It's usually an uncle, an aunt, a grandma, a grandpa, rarely a cousin, rarely a brother or sister. Sibling rivalry is a natural thing, just like in the wild. They love you, but they don't want to see you doing better than them. Sounds like a oxymoron, right? How can you say you love me, but you don't want to see me do good? You don't want to see me do better. And in your heart, in your mind, you're thinking, they feel like that now, but once I get successful, they know me. I will gladly, and think about it, you would do everything in your power once you're successful. Your brother, your sister, your parents, your friends, even your coworkers. Carl, he would say, wow, I never expected this from you. Like, I'm impressed. Look, I've been a jerk all these years. Is there any way, I apologize, but is there any way that you can just like give me some tips on where to go with that? On social media, you would say, F Carl. But in that instance right there, the least expected person that you would ever expect to hear that from, you would retort with, sure, man, this is what I did. Because that person gave you what you want from your own friends and family. The least expected individuals. And that's why I converse with trolls, because many of them turn out to be really great students. And their testimony to me in private is much more compassionate than they would share openly. And they see the errors of their ways. They see that they just were sucked into the world. They were drunk. on the whiskey of the world, sharing their misery. And you stick at this for any length of time, and you find success, you find continuity in what you're doing, and you discover all these, I want to do this real fast and make lots of money right now, goes away. And you learn that living well has always been the goal, but you've inflated it. You've inflated it to materialism. You've inflated it to, I have to look the part. I could be walking down the street and you would never look at me and know what my net worth is. You would never know where I live, what I own, what I could afford. When I was younger, I looked like I could own a whole lot more than I actually could. And that's a normal thing. That's normal. But when you mature as a trader, investor, entrepreneur, you lose the interest because really, what do you're asking for attention from people that don't really matter. You're walking down the street, these people are not going to have dinner with you. You're not going to meet their family. You're not going to do anything, beyond just maybe glance, nod your head, take a compliment from them or whatever. That's it. You realize how superficial and shallow that is? But when you don't have any reason for people to do that for you, you want it because you think it's going to make you feel significant. When knowing this skill set in your hands will feed you, it will feed your family. It is roots that you're pressing down deep in the earth on that family tree, that legacy of wealth, that you're the core, you're the trunk, you're the foundation of everything beyond you. That's the perspective you should have. That's how you should think about yourself and what you're doing. Not, I want to get a payout so bad. If I could just get some money right now, what would you do with it? Say you got lucky and you got a windfall payout of $25,000. How foolish would you be with that money? Be honest. What's the first thing you're going to go out there and waste it on? And what will that do for you in your present skill set and development as a trader? How much regret would you have looking back a year later if you did that very thing that you're hoping to do? I wish, I wish I had the money I blew just in my first year. Forget everything else, just the first year. Wasteful. And you can't go back and fix it. The only thing you do is learn from it. And I'm trying to tap you gently on the shoulder and telling you there's other things that you need to worry about. These twists and turns in the road ahead that you don't see, you're going to be impulsive. People are going to inspire you to act a certain way, to talk a certain way, to behave a certain way. And if it doesn't put money in your pocket or protect the money in your pocket, then why do it? Image, pomp, status. I can't spend that. That doesn't put any meat on my plate. It doesn't fill my glass. And I can't fill anybody else's glass with it either. So what good is it? It's the flesh. It's the desire to want to be viewed as better than you really are. And people that don't have it strive for it more than anyone else. And the people that do have it, the people that really can afford the things out of life, they don't care because they're comfortable, they're content with enough. Over time, what'll happen? It always works out this way. Those individuals that leaned in with that alcohol breath, with their whiskey whispers, you're going to fail. You're wasting your time. Don't do that. eventually they painfully have to recognize that you make it, that you no longer are one of them anymore, and they are nothing like you. They still have to go to work, and while that's not something that's terrible, people have to work. Word says, unless a man works, he can't eat. But you don't have to slave for someone else. You don't have to report the duty and ask for your time off. You get to do what you want to do on your own schedule and spend your money that you make by your own hands however you want. And their whiskey whispers turn to bourbon blues, and they regret that they didn't ask you then. What keeps you motivated to still do this right now? How do you know that you're not going to be successful? Because maybe that would have been an uncomfortable question to be asked even in the beginning, but it's a whole lot less offensive than you're going to waste your money, you're going to waste your time. That's usually the response, because people that are watching other people make changes in their life for the better, that's an uncomfortable thing, because it puts a spotlight on them, showing them that you're not doing enough. But because they have no direction, they have no answer for it, and they're drunk from the wine of the world, whining about woe is me, inflation, woe is me, Trump's doing this, woe is me, the Democrats that, woe is me, the people coming in our country, woe is me, jobs aren't here, woe is me, property values are going up. You know how much time people that do well in this worry about those types of things? Next to nothing. Why? Why? Because they're not worried about where their next meal is going to come from. They're not worried about the skill set that they've acquired stopping in terms of effectiveness. They're not worried about anything changing in the world of investing. You're all fearful of AI. You know what AI is going to do? Nothing. Because it's already doing it now. It's been doing it since electronic trading. You're acting as if this is somehow, it's going to take away your ability. It's not going to do anything. The only thing that can happen is more people be involved and that liquidity is increased. So all that's doing is making more in terms of in reach all these things that you have in mind for goals. So let me ask you a question. Are you still drunk? You still doubt yourself? You sobering up slowly, but you still get that buzz from the world's whiskey? Or do you have the bourbon blues right now because you're impatient? You can't let it happen organically. Remember, you're cutting yourself off from the rest of the world that can't see things like this. Investing in yourself. It doesn't make sense to the average person. It didn't make sense to me. I wanted something better in life. I didn't want to work for someone else. Every time my wife and I take a road trip, I don't know why I ask the same questions, but I'm hoping that she's going to give me a different answer on certain things, because women are kind of fickle about that, and they guard their responses about this, that, and the other thing. But I ask her all the time, what was your first job? What did you do? What were the first 3 jobs that you had? And I actually listed, I had 32 jobs. Think about that. I could name 32 places where I was employed. Now, mind you, some of these jobs were literally walking in the door saying, heck no, I'm out the door. And the same day I'm gone. And one of them I stepped in and I was like, oh no, I can't be here. And I walked out. But the majority of them were like 1 or 2 days and thinking, I can't do this. This isn't for me. And I revealed on X, I think it was yesterday, when I was a 17-year-old, I was working as a bricklayer. And really all I was a humper. I would just take the block, grab it with the clamps, and then lifted up to the guys on the scaffold above me. So you were the grunt. I was the grunt. And I worked that for a summer, and it paid okay. It was the most I ever made at that time. I was only 17, right at high school. So, but I did a lot of menial jobs. And I told my wife, I said, back then, if anybody would have told me, learn to invest in yourself, I would have just blew it off. I didn't know where I was going in life. I just knew I wanted a white collar job, not the things I was doing. And I couldn't wait to learn how to do what I was teaching myself from sixth grade, which was code. And that way I could direct a team of coders as a systems analyst. That was my pursuit. So it wasn't heavy lifting. It was all mental things I was trying to do. But telling me then, just like my uncle tried to tell me, I was 14, 15, and 16 years old every Sunday at grandma's house, which was my house. 1 Victoria Road in Cardboard City. That's what they called it. The whole neighborhood looked like it was made out of cardboard boxes. It was old Martin Marietta staff, the military. That's basically what they were, military barracks and stuff. So there wasn't a whole lot of money invested in building them. And eventually it was sold off to the private sector, and then people started renting them. And that's where I was raised as, in that neighborhood. And on Sundays, my uncle would tell me, the richest people in the world, Michael, trade futures and options. Get yourself a job as an electronic technician. Start trading. You know what I heard? Blah, blah, blah. Ignore him. What's going on down the road? I got to go hang out with my friends. That's what I heard. Sorry, Uncle Stan. But the point is those seeds were being distributed to me at the age of 14, and I didn't even know it. Maybe you thought about trading. Maybe you thought about it, was inspired by hearing about it, and you're like, it's probably too difficult. I don't have any money to do it anyway. Until now, where less than $100 can get you in the door through these funded account companies. And you're seeing not only my students, but other people, different walks of life, different schools of thought, different approaches to trading. They go online, they share, this is what I just got paid out with. I love seeing that. I don't agree with the whole prop firm model, but hey, if that's the way you're going to skin the cat and that's the only way you got, then hey, go for it. Who am I to say that money ain't spendable? If it gets deposited in your bank, that's what that means. It's green just like mine is. But anybody that makes a profit in trading, I always, awesome. Because that's what inspired me in the beginning. I didn't have Inner Circle Trader to look up to. I had just Larry Williams with a $10,000 to $1 million in 1 year. That's what I was looking at. And when you're first starting out, as much as you want it, that's still a very big mountain looking up, thinking, this is what I have to measure up to. This is what success looks like. I have to do that or I'm not successful. That's how I was beating myself up, instead of saying, you know what, if I could just make $250 a week, because back then that was good money for me, that would have been so much easier for me as a starting point, a humble beginning. But that's not what I was thinking. I was not thinking like that. That was the result of me finding a very simple approach to trading in the bond market. And I adopted this mindset that if I could make $250 a week and don't spend it and just pull it out and save it, pull it out and save it, by the time I turned 40, I could retire as a millionaire. So I spread out and deferred the immediate gratification of calling myself rich, calling myself independent, no longer needing a job. I pushed it literally 20 years ahead. A little less than 20 years, but roundabout. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I had to do that hide myself from the pressure of looking like I had to do what Larry Williams did to be considered successful. As a 20-year-old, self-teaching, buying up all kinds of stuff, wasting money that I did not have, couldn't afford it. I didn't have prop firm stuff that you have today. But truth be told, I would have wasted thousands of dollars doing it back then too. I would have poured money into it, chasing this, chasing that, because I wanted to escape the world. The world was a constant reminder that I wasn't enough. My life wasn't satisfying enough. And losing my wife was the cherry on top, because if I was worth anything, she wouldn't have left, right? That's how I internalized it. And it wasn't me. She's had 20 different partners since me, married several times. And I'm not knocking her. I'm just saying that I took it personal back then. And you take things like that in your own life personal too, and you dwell on it. And that's the baggage that you bring to trading. They're all the things that I talk about in these boring lectures that you think are just pointless rants. I saw a guy here this morning saying, I wish you would stay on point because I like listening to you and I like learning from you, but you talk about things that don't matter. They matter more than you realize, young man. I promise you that, because everyone that's finding success masters all of their own personal baggage. All the trappings that you carry every day when you go to work, when you're traveling back and forth, commuting to work or university, the things that you're thinking about when nobody's talking to you, the things that you're fearful of, you have to wrestle that into submission. You have to do that. I can't fix it for you. Nobody else can fix it for you. Your broker isn't going to help you out and say, hey, look, we saw you had a string of losses here and you drew down about 30% of your account today. How's everything going on the home front? You and the missus okay? Your kids doing all right? Oh, they're not? Well, listen, we're going to replenish your account because, you deserve it. It's a lot of pressure on one guy. Come on. We're not here to hurt you. So we're just going to give you some money and fill in that void that he's created for your equity. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So when I talk to you, you're talking to someone on X, in posts to me on my videos, in emails to me that I rarely ever open. Not because I don't like you, not because I'm trying to dismiss all you, but I just get too many of them. And I can't do it. But sometimes the titles usually do get me and I'll open them up. That doesn't mean I'm going to reply to you, but I know what I've been through. I know what I put myself through. And I know that I'm not the only person. I'm not the exception. So I know that I used all these hurtful things to myself, thinking I'm going to motivate myself. Like in the 80s, when I was working out and I tried to be a bodybuilder, and I got as big as I could without steroids, and I started contemplating taking steroids. I was in World Gym. The guys were in there shooting it up, and even asked me, "Hey, look, we'll give you the first gear of it. You tell us you want to keep coming for it." I was like, "Let me get back to you." Before I even got home, I already said in my mind, "I'm going to do it." And I was the biggest of my friends. That weird desire to be freakishly big just jumped in my head one day because I saw these monsters in the gym with me. And I didn't feel inferior next to them. I was inspired by them. Like I was like, man, I want to have traps like that. I want my lats to flare out like I'm carrying carpets. You ever see those guys that walk around and they have all air underneath their arms? We call them carpet carriers. Roll up carpet. There's nothing under their arms holding their arms out, but they're doing it. Okay, trying to act like their lats are flared out bigger than they really are. But these monsters look like manta rays, like on two tree trunks for legs. Like it was freakish. They were big, huge. And honestly, looking back now, it's not as appealing. But when you're young and impressionable as a teenager, You think, wow, I want to look like that. They're a giant. They're a hero. I want to look like these people. And then when you see people in the trading world and they take down big wins, they do something astonishing and commendable, really. No matter what style of trading they do, even if it was guessing, even if it was over leveraging, how are you going to knock someone taking hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the marketplace, whether it be through fund account companies or the real market? How can you conceive the position of you talking bad about that when you can't even scrape up 1/10 of what they just made? That's just it's the whiskey on your breath. That's all that is. You got the bourbon blues. And that's what social media does to people that are weak minded. And you may not think this way openly and talk about it openly. You may not agree with me. You may not heart my comments when I talk this way. But I'm certain that you know that what I just said is the truth. There's nothing good in social media. It's not inspirational. You want what other people have because you're coveting. But really what you're doing is you're torturing yourself. But you're mislabeling it as you're so inspirational to me. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not inspiration. You are pressuring yourself and you don't even realize it. You're placing so much pressure on yourself personally to live up to unrealistic expectations of yourself that you don't even have the skill set yet because you haven't been working at it hard enough yet and long enough yet to be able to have the skill set to work towards doing it at all. And subconsciously, you know that, but you hurry up and flip the description and call it inspiration because you're caught now worshiping other people. And some of you, you do that to me, and it's wrong. I put my pants on just like the rest of you. Most of the time, I'm wearing Hey Dudes as shoes. Okay. When I was younger, all my shoes cost $400 or higher. And if they got a little bit of dirt on them, I throw them away. Wasteful. Wasteful. Some of you had the wonderful opportunity to be so much better as an ambassador for what I have created than even myself. That's what I tell my kids. I want you to be better than me. Gentlemen, in life, if you're blessed to have a son or sons, they're going to realize eventually one day that there was one person, one man in the world that honestly, sincerely, from the heart, wanted them to be better than that man. And that man is you as their dad. If you've been fortunate enough to have a father like that, maybe you lost them. Maybe they're no longer here with you. You know what I mean when I say that. That man, the only other man in existence that genuinely wanted to see you do better than them. Because there's no, look, your brothers, your friends, your coworkers, your boss definitely don't want you doing better than them. But your dad, your father, absolutely wants you to do better than him. And while I don't know the majority of you, and I'll probably never meet you, I look to you as much like children. And I don't mean that looking down upon you, but over the years, I have grown in my affinity for a lot of you. And when I talk to you, initially it started off with I'm talking to my kids. But then sometimes my mind would drift to certain members of my community, students that have done really well, students that have worked really hard, the Lumi traders, the Tanjas, the Kyles, all the names that you're familiar with. They first started finding their way in my mind as I'm talking. And then the certain screen names that would always pop up, the regulars, like Adam, guys like waiting for it. Anything to pop on next, he's bang, replying something. It's like the first one there all the time. First one at the cookout. So I think of you all Even when my mind's adrift, like we're on the road driving around, and my wife's listening to her headphones because I'm not listening to that goofy Kindle love story stuff she listens to. I'm listening to headphones, but with just the noise canceling, and my mind drifts to all of you. And I think to myself, like, what are all of you doing right now? Are you making plans? Are you working hard, but keeping a realistic expectation in mind that you're not going to try to bite off more than you can chew? So that way you give yourself a real chance at this. See, it used to be people would say they would say, I don't make any money with my concepts. Then it went to nobody makes money with my concepts. And then now it's not my concepts. And then it's rebranded and we can't find anything that's actually rebranded. And nobody's made any real significant money, but my students are the highest paid out and most documented one in all the companies out there that are funded, quote unquote. So you have zero reason to doubt now. Zero. There's more receipts. There's more proof in existence now online proving that what I'm teaching you really is what it is. And you are no better than any of those individuals. And they are no better than you. You're all on the same playing field. You're learning the same material, learning the same skill set. The only difference is you're applying it on an individual basis based on your own personality. And what you bring into this has to be filtered. Toxic thinking. I want to learn just enough so that way I can start a mentorship and I'll learn how to trade later on. Because if I can talk about the right side of the chart later on and make money from it, that's a bonus. But as long as I can talk about the left side of the chart, I could do mentorships. I could sell hindsight. I can make a lot of money that way, fake it until I make it. That only lasts for a little while until your clients, your customers eventually start saying, yeah, but you never say anything that's going to happen beforehand. So you want to filter that out. If you had those inspirations, crush them. Just push it down. That's just your flesh. You just want instant gratification. All those things that you want right away, they're easy to get and so much more. But you have to do it the right way. You have to manage yourself and your expectations and defer your wants. And you have to replace them. And this is not easy to do. I'm no way near trying to say that this is going to be easy because it wasn't for me. And I don't think it's inherently easy for humans to do this. We're impulsive creatures. Even the most disciplined of individuals still feel the impulse, but they wrestled it. Nope, you're not going to have what you want. I'm doing this. That's discipline. You have to forge that as a trader. You have to think how you're going to behave in instances that you have not yet been met with. Those are protocols. If you don't know what you're going to do if you have two losing trades and you don't have a plan for that that's written out, you're never going to be able to weather that. What's going to happen is with no plan written, there's no standard operating procedure for you. I've suffered two losing trades in a row. What do I do next? Well, you know what your skin is going to tell you to do. I'm uncomfortable, so fix this. You're not comfortable in your own skin. So what are you going to do? You're going to over leverage, no stop loss, and you're going to go in there and just buy or sell. Whatever the first impulse is in your mind, just like that. Why? Why does that happen? Because you're suffering through a chemical imbalance because of the pain, the doubt, the frustration, the fear. You still have your account. You still have enough to take trades. You did not do that much damage, but the discomfort that you're feeling, that pain, you want to escape it, but you know you can't escape it because to escape that means you have to simply turn the screens off and take the loss, plural. The first losses like that are the most painful and the most expensive because you will go on tilt. How do you correct that? How do you prevent it? Acknowledge that you did something wrong and tell yourself, I am not done, but I am finished trading today. I have permission to leave this just like it is, and I will come back to it with a better prepared mind, with more patience, and I'm going to let this settle. Not, I have to escape the pain because I've just taken 2 losing trades. Yes, it's only a couple $100 or it's $1,000 or maybe it's $2,500. Whatever it is, it could be any denomination in terms of money. You don't want to have that. You don't want to suffer that. You want gains, you want profits. But part of this process is you have to learn to be a good money manager, and you have to stop hemorrhaging money. I don't like the expression that's bandied about by Mr. Hugard. It's no knock against you, Tom. It's just sometimes there's things I hear, and I just don't agree with it. So if you ever hear this, you just permit me to know, or permit me to say this, and you know that I still have respect for you. And I'm not trying to, kick dirt in your face. But his expression is, and he wrote actually a book about it. The best loser wins. And you need to learn to be a good loser. I don't think that's actually a good way of saying that. I think the better way of saying it would be, you have to give yourself permission to be imperfect. Doesn't that sound a whole lot less, well, when you say the word loser, it brings to light a connotation that it's just simply uncomfortable. And our subconscious is very powerful. It's like a sponge. And this is why I teach people, when you're logging and when you're doing your journal, you want to be doing things that speak positively, like you're nurturing your own child, because the trader that you're developing into is you. It's not somebody else. And they're highly impressionable right now. In the beginning, your first few years are very important years of development, just like a child is. The first 5 years of development are crucial. It really sets the tone for the type of person they're going to be. So I don't like the idea of saying that you have to learn to be a good loser. No, that's not actually a good way of doing it. You need to give yourself permission to be imperfect. That is very disarming. It's easier to allow yourself to walk away knowing that, yeah, I'm in control. Are you in control when you say, I'm just going to be a good loser today? I have never adopted a mindset once I found the models that work, the continuity in my decisions and operations, and taking the trades that I know matter because of the things I've been sharing and teaching to you. I've never looked at what it is I do when I don't do well. If I do it wrong, I don't say, I'm just going to be a good loser today. That's not arrogance. That's not ego. It's me guarding my thought process. It's me guarding the way I see myself. Because if I constantly feed myself subconsciously things that are keywords for loser, my subconscious is going to be thinking, okay, this is painful. This is uncomfortable. And I'm going to dwell on it for that night, for that weekend, if it's a Friday. You know what it feels like when you go on the weekend, you've taken a loss, and you maybe were up in the morning, and that little bit of greed tapped you. Said, you're only $75 away from getting funded. You're only $75 away from your payout, and there's no better day to do it now. It's a Friday. Why wait until Monday? And you blow it. All that progress is done. Do you want to tell yourself, you're just going to have to be a good loser that day? That doesn't help you, does it? But if that does happen, you tell yourself, well, here's what I was able to do. I got so close to it, and in my impatience, while learning how to do this and mastering myself, I allowed my impatience to dictate my actions. And I'm going to be able to do this again because I've got here once before. So I give my permission to myself to have a restful weekend. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to come back Monday and I'm going to start again. And I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm going to defer. And I've taught this to my students. If you are close to the proverbial payout or getting funded, and you know, as soon as you start looking at how much money you got to do to get there, and it's very small, don't trade that day. I promise you. I promise you, if you don't trade, as soon as you start contemplating the concerns of being able to reach that, honestly, let me ask you, okay, there's only about 2,300 of you right now listening to me. Out of the 2,300 that are listening to me, and for people that listen to this later on in the day or whenever they get to it, um, reply to the link or the invitation that this Twitter space has offered for you to be a member of listening to it. If you've ever fell victim to doing that, I'm not going to ridicule you. I'm not going to say, ha, look at you. But if you feel like you want to be honest and make an impression on the other community members to kind of like inspire them to learn from your mistake, nobody here is beating you up. No one's here laughing at you. I've done this before, not with funded accounts, but I've done this before as a 20-year-old. I was very, very close to getting $10,000 where I was going to do a withdrawal. And I'm like, all I got to do is make another $200. And I got it. And it would be a Friday. And I would go on tilt, just like that. And the whole weekend, I'm figuring out how I can cut grass, do extra jobs, do things on the side, deliver pizza, all these things, just to get the scratch up to do it again. Did you ever suffer like that where you're right there, or almost getting ready to get a payout, or getting ready to get a funded account, or reach some kind of a mile marker, and you start dwelling on it, and you have to get it? It's almost like a piece of meat between your teeth. Your tongue just keeps going back to it. You can't leave it alone. I cannot not trade today. I have to get this today. I cannot do that. I could not wrestle my own willpower to avoid doing this. I have to do it because I don't want to be sitting there on Saturday morning or Sunday. My mind's gonna be just thinking about, if I just would have did that, my weekend would have been so much better if I would have got that target on Friday before the end of the day. So you did it and you impulsively traded because you couldn't stand the discomfort of not having the goal achieved yet. Young men that tell me all the time, I wish you would just talk on point and stop ranting, stop talking all this wasteful stuff. Nobody cares about this stuff, old man. Well, that's because you're broke. That's because you don't make money, and that's because you don't know how to trade. And you think that trading is tell me when to buy, tell me when to sell. It's XYZ, boom, 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 1, 2, 3, easy steps. And it's not like that at all. And proof is I've given models just like that, telling you the very time, silver bullet. How many millionaires did you see come out of the silver bullet when there's millions of you watching the same stuff? The answer is not that. The answer is fixing yourself first. When you stop worrying about achieving things that you don't necessarily need, making an amount of money that you don't necessarily need in the beginning. See, who says you have to have $10,000 as your first payout? Who says that? I taught my son Caleb. I said, listen, you pay rent in an apartment like $1,700 a month. If you go into trading every week and your goal is to make $250 and come out each week with $250, no matter what you make above that, who cares? That's a bonus. You start like that. That's your cookie cutter. Because if you do that, you're getting the majority of your rent paid. Not all of it, the majority of it. You're beyond 50% of your rent. And if you do that month after month, then slowly increase it. Okay, now I'm going to try to make $350 a week. Do that for a month or two. And eventually work towards $500 a month. Now you're above the rent. You have to give yourself time and realistic goals in the beginning. You can't just go in and say, I just want to get a massive payout because I can copy all these accounts together, link them together, and I'm going to be able to do what Lanto's doing. And I had to find a way to segue into that. And I just want to tell you, again, that is very, very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I think everybody that's watching you would agree that you're killing it right now. So well done, young man. Very, very good. But I think that all of you that see things like that, and even other traders that use different things, um, even about volume profile. And I told one of my students, they asked what I was going to talk about in this, and I facetiously said volume profile. I heard Kit talking about, I really dumped on volume profile traders. And I'm not dumping on the traders. I'm just basically drawing a distinction between people that try to say that that stuff's better than my stuff, or what's my opinion of, would I ever want to learn to use that? I learned all that stuff. I've done all that stuff before. Like, I've been around for a long time, a long time. All these things that you're now discovering, like you think it's something new, that stuff's been around. But when I'm teaching you my stuff, that stuff is really new. They're real rules that never been existing before. And they're very specific, like we did in a live stream yesterday. It goes right to the tick based on logic that you can't find outside my stuff. And when you see people doing exceedingly well, okay, really, really exemplary results, yes, the shock value of big numbers like that, it can be very inspirational. But you have to keep yourself in check, because many times you will see things like that and think, I have to do things at a rapid pace because these opportunities aren't going to always be here. And that's not true. That's not true. That's your mind, that's your subconscious tricking you because your flesh wants it right now. Just like as a young man, I wanted my biceps to be 18 inches. I was at 15 and a half. 15 and a half when I was, well, I wasn't even 16 years old. I had biceps at 15 and a half, rested, not flexed. So I wanted to have big old muscles and arms like, cannons, and I couldn't get them to grow fast enough for me. And then I started contemplating, well, if I did roids, I would get it in 6 months. So what was I doing? I'm trying to get a payout before the weekend comes because I can't stand to wait another year and a half, 2 years to get the thing naturally and hold on to it where I wouldn't lose all the water gain that steroids give you. You can get it quick. You'll puff up real quick. You'll bloat up real quick. But as soon as you come off your gear, it goes away real quick. So your mind left to, well, no discipline. You're going to let bad thoughts come in. You're going to let bad thinking come in. And then if you're weak and not disciplined, you're going to act on that. So that's why I talk this way to you. That's why the majority of the things I talk about, when you all ask for, give me a psychological lesson. All of my lectures, every time I talk, it's all psychological. It's predominantly that, because the technicals I've already taught. How you're going to manage yourself is a discovery on your part. I don't know what you bring to the table as a trader. I don't know what you're wrestling with. I don't know. Maybe you don't even know what you're wrestling with. But you will determine what that is if you're honest in your journal, and you have to keep that journal private because that very reason. If you're not honest, you won't discover the things that's holding you back. I kept myself from being honest in my journals for a long time. I was wasting my time beating myself up in the journal. And the reason why I brought up the whole working out and trying to get big is I would cuss myself out in the mirror, at the gym, on the way home. Like, you're weak. You're you can imagine, I'm not going to use the language here, but I would tear myself down because I was trying to be a drill sergeant to myself. And that doesn't really work. It didn't work for me. And until I learned how to master anxiety, I learned positive self-talk. I allowed only positive things into my mind, and I nurtured myself. I encouraged myself. And then I started basically treating me like something that mattered, not a failure that needed to be abused every day.